3, 2, 1.
Here we go!
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the AMP Podcast, Adventure and Activity Marketing Pros. My name is Jaden, and it's summertime here in Vegas, Steve. It's getting a little warm.
Warm is an understatement. It's hot. It's like 193 degrees outside.
It's like an oven. It's like I cooked a Totino's pizza the other night, and you know, like when you open the oven and it's just like hot, and it's hot outside. That's what it feels like.
Every part of it's hot. It's so early to be this hot.
It is. It's a hot June. It's a hot June. And we also have somebody on the podcast that I'm super excited to talk about because we found this online and I thought it was a super interesting thing. So I thought we should bring her on the podcast.
I think it's neat as hell.
Yeah. And we have Sydney Paulsen from Tip Jar. How are you doing?
Good. How are you guys doing?
We're doing good. We're doing good, actually.
Sydney, you're not melting in San Diego, are you? It's beautiful there.
No, but we definitely had the May gray, but the June gloom seems to have dissipated. So we are enjoying a really beautiful June.
Do you want to come out to the June, melt your ass off? It's a different...
Not that. Oh, we get nice sunny weather. We have perfect weather right now. I have no complaints.
What did you call it? The May what?
May gray.
The May gray.
It's the first time. Have you heard that before?
Gloom.
We're not totally up on California lingo.
I'll
that
just
is a
say,
California thing.
try not to vacation in San Diego in May or June.
Oh, because it's only 74 degrees and perfect.
That's why we decided to go there this week.
Yeah, it's only quasi perfect during May and June. Not totally perfect. They save that for July, August, September, October.
Where do you live in San Diego? Like what area?
We're gonna act like we're.
I'm in Point Loma.
Oh, okay.
And I actually live on a sailboat, so
what?
Right on the water. So yeah, so that's exciting.
I mean, I was gonna be like, we ate at a fish and chips place in Point Loma, but nothing like we.
So you live on a sailboat. So we've actually been on a sailboat. We've actually done a podcast.
I've never lived on a sailboat.
sailboat.
Why do you live on a sailboat? Go on.
Well, we wanted to be able to buy our house, and we wanted to live as close to the water as we could.
That is as close as you can get.
I got all the questions.
Everyone says it's the cheapest waterfront property in San Diego. So that is true. And there's actually a lot of really nice little anchorages in San Diego that you can go and stay at. And so it's a super fun weekend activity. Just take your home and go anchor out and enjoy it, and then head back into the marina for
my
week.
gosh.
So did you grow up as a sailing person? Because we always wonder that. Like if you,
I don't know that I can live on a sailboat, but a motorboat. Are you a sailor?
No. So we literally had no idea how to sail a year ago. Just kind of cooked up a crazy idea.
Oh my gosh.
Moved back to the U.S. and decided we should execute it. So we've been. My dad is a very good sailor, so we have relied on him quite a bit.
So that's where it came from a little bit, right? So I mean, your dad has a passion, or he's in a sail club or something like that, right?
Yeah, so he grew up sailing, and we came to visit them in San Diego, and he kind of pointed out a boat and was like, "Yeah, you could buy that for $5,000," and we were just like, "What?" And so then that's kind of the moment the idea started, and then we went down a very big rabbit hole.
That was not the number. $5,000 was not the number I was.
Yeah, that's insane. I mean, of all the things you could have told us, that was the least expected.
Yeah,
so
it's been a lot of fun.
Do you love it, or do you hate it, or?
I really love it. It's not our forever plan by any means, but it's a really fun thing to do right now. A nice new skill to learn. San Diego's probably the perfect place to do it, it's kind of an older boat that we're kind of refurbishing the inside of it, so it's fun because we're just turning it into exactly what we like. So
are you guys documenting all this for your YouTube channel, or what are we?
No, not quite. Taking lots of pictures though.
That's cool. Sharing on Instagram a bit.
So is the boat, I mean, I don't want to say, is it functionable, or is it, I mean, do you guys take it out while you guys are living there?
Yeah, so our kind of stipulation was we wanted to buy a boat that was like structurally sound and had really good bones, so then we could put all of our money more into the aesthetic side of it.
Oh,
And
okay.
so, yeah, so from when we got her, we can take her out and go do stuff on it. It's exponentially more comfortable to do it now than it was when we got her because we've put a lot of upgrades into it, like solar and.
So how big of a boat is a boat you live on?
So it is 33 feet long,
Okay.
and a little over 12 feet wide.
Interesting. This is
And it has a name, I assume, because you called her a girl, so it's a she. So what's the name of the boat?
Her name is Mahali. And
Did you name it that, or was it already named that?
No, the prior name was Scorpio 3.
Ooh.
So
Well,
we
That's not a good one. That doesn't got a good sailing ring to it, does it?
Sounds like something you probably die in.
Sounds like somebody's come, or like a pirate ship that's coming to get you, or something
Scorpio
like that. Yeah, that's
3.
not a good one.
Yeah, so we decided to not go with that one. But Mahali, it's named after a psychologist who was the one to come up with the concept of flow states and just being like completely present and kind of how that contributes to happiness and challenges. His name's actually pronounced Mihai, but we're just calling it Mahali.
Now that is definitely some San Diego stuff right there. The
Yeah.
flow states. Somebody had to drop that. That was you got some energy rocks on there, and
That is super good intro there. Super good intro. So I do want to learn a little bit, and we want to talk a little bit about this because we think this is a neat technology. But you are the CEO of TipJar, and it's kind of an interesting platform because we're all used to like things like Venmo or PayPal's been around for a long time. But how do you tip? You know what I mean? Your tour guides or anything like that. That's why we kind of fell on this. I think you can use it for a lot more things than just the tourism industry.
Yep.
So I kind of want you to maybe give us like a brief introduction. I know me and Steve have some questions for it, and then we can kind of go over it a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. So the idea of TipJar really did originate out of the UK. There we have, and we see a lot of bars and pubs that don't actually even accept credit card tips. For an operator, there's just a lot of logistical issues associated with it. And so quite often, because tipping isn't as ingrained culturally, you would see a lot of restaurants and places that just wouldn't even take credit card tips. And so the other thing that you see quite often over there and over here is there was always like service charges, and quite often there was stories coming in where the companies would end up just scrapping that money and using it on their own. And so we kind of came in because we wanted to be able to connect customers directly to the tipped workers. One, it makes it a lot easier operationally for the business. They're not actually ever handling that money. And two, it just ensures clarity and transparency to make sure that the tipped workers are getting their full allotment of money that's actually been tipped to them. And so, yeah, we started off in the UK very much kind of restaurant and bar focused. And coming into the US, it was just really interesting because, with tipping being so more culturally ingrained over here, there's just not quite the same opportunity in restaurants and pubs where you can still just sign on a line with a credit card. But what we did find, and what we've kind of now started calling, the transactionless tips. So the tips that are happening that aren't part of the wider transaction. And so, yeah, perfect for tour guides, perfect for, rental companies if you want to tip the worker that, is helping you get on and off. Perfect for hotels with bellhops, ballets, concierge, housekeeping. And yeah, perfect also just, for street performers or for places that are doing live music and it's free for the people that are there enjoying it. So kind of anywhere where you're leaving a tip and it's not being tipped at the same time you're paying a bill, that's kind of where we fit in just perfectly.
yeah, no, it's somehow I got targeted on this ad and I was immediately obsessed with it because it's genius. It's the best thing. It's one of the coolest things I've seen in a minute. And you know, we already had a use case when we reached out to you. We had the client in mind who happened to be in San Diego, which was an amazing coincidence. But this is genius. This is a great addition for a lot of, you know, we're in the tourism space, but I can see this in, you know, 30 different industries where this is like a no-brainer.
Yeah,
we're super excited about it.
So if you need somebody on your sales team, I'm looking for a job if you need.
Yeah, because
You're right.
because me and Steve sometimes send each other stuff, like when he went like to a restaurant, and even with COVID, like, and the 2020 and the paperless things, like QR codes, I mean, they're back. They were hot in 2020. Like, it was a hot thing, and we used to dabble with them, you know, before. And
2019, nobody knew what to do with QR code. 2020 is, you know,
even like, before.
I got you. This is what QR codes are for.
It was like we had a basic training of them, and then when they really needed to use them, we had them. But yeah, there's some neat things that you can do, like check yourself out. You know what I mean, at a restaurant, which I think is pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, I feel like tour guides. That was even one thing that we even saw putting on people's websites. You know what I mean? A lot was, hey, tip our staff, you know what I mean, during this time to keep them going. Like, if you've had a good experience, you know, other times you were here, you know, you can go to the website and leave it. So I think that this was kind of an interesting use case. And I know that one of the things is like for sharing tips, right? It makes sense for that aspect of it too, or individual.
So that's actually one of my questions, and I wanted to dig in because obviously I've been in the back end of the platform, but I've been in the back end of the platform with only myself and not a team. So tell us a little bit about how it works. You've got let's call it a rental operation with a bunch of boat hands that are helping customers go out. How are those tips divvied out, and how are people checked in and out? How does that make sense for if you've got 4 or 5 different guys working?
Yeah, definitely. So what we do for our shared tip jars is all of the 5 dockhand workers, they would all register to that tip jar account. Okay. And they would be able to set up their account. They get access, they add their bank details, and then there is the admin of the tip jar, and that is usually, going to be the person that's just kind of controlling those splits. And so once the money is coming in, typically, once a week or once a month, kind of however you would naturally split your cash tips, the admin is just going in and they're going to input the hours. They'll see all the different names of the people who are their workers. They can say, Joe's worked 10 hours and Paul worked 5 hours, and then they just click split, and it'll calculate the tips in that date range, and then it'll split them based on the hours worked. And then once they do that, the money just goes directly into those individuals' tip jar accounts, and then they can just withdraw that directly to their bank.
So it's not on a day-to-day basis. It's not like if we work Saturday from 3 to 7, you're clocked in. The admin, myself, or whoever the business owner is going in the back and putting the hours in, correct?
Yeah. So, I mean, if you wanted to, you could split it on a daily basis. You could go in and say the tips that were received on this day, I want to split. Or you can kind of choose any kind of date segment you want. Something that we have launched already with in the UK, and right now we're just figuring out what kind of are the best partners to go forward, is syncing with Rhoda softwares. So then that way it's actually like 100% hands off, and it'll just be splitting those tips based on, when people are clocking in and out naturally, and you don't actually have to go in and split it. So yeah, so we have that running live in the UK for a selection of payroll and kind of Rhoda softwares, and we're working on getting that live now in the US as well.
Gotcha.
That's very cool.
Because for sure, because I kind of see the use case for that, like in like the nightlife or the bar industry of kind of, maybe you had a bar back that clocked in and then he left, you know what I mean, or at a certain time, and then you had another bar back that comes in at the night shift or the busier shift. So it's like tipping them out per their hours that they're actually working, rather than it just, I mean, I think it was always a trust based. I mean,
after owning a bar, the trust base and tips is very, very little.
But now it's recorded. Like it's a system. It's a software, which I think it's super neat.
So what has been? I mean, obviously we get the restaurant tourism. Have you guys done any interesting deployments that you were surprised about, or were not in your guys' model but make sense now?
Yeah, so I would say hotels is a really interesting space for us. We've just had a hotel in San Francisco go live. And for them, they're just going to be doing like a tip splitting process for their housekeepers. And then they just are putting a QR code up in the room that the guests can scan and tip. And so that's something I didn't really think about too much, honestly, prior to coming over here. And then that I think is just going to be such a big place for us. Another thing that's really interesting is we're currently running a marketing campaign with Visa, and just kind of targeting a more generic groupings of people and seeing what's coming up. And one of the biggest groups of people we have that are applying for Tip Jar are actually delivery drivers and Uber drivers, and I think people who are actually looking to accept tips out with the apps. I think potentially there's a lot of trust that's been lost in tipping through those apps. And so that's been a really interesting one for us that I didn't foresee at all, because I just figured, you can accept the tips through the app. Why would you be looking to also collect cashless tips another way?
So tell me a little bit about that, because was there like something that maybe got brought up? Like, because I mean, like rideshare, for example. Because
if I was an Uber driver, I'd have this all over my car. This seems genius.
Yeah. So,
or a limo driver. I mean,
well, that's kind of was my use case, because actually the other day when I was on the Strip, I did take a taxi. You know what I mean? Because they have the Lyft shortage, the Uber, and I was like, oh, it feels like old school Vegas again. Getting back in the taxi line
felt disgusting.
Well, yeah. I mean, and then they got all their advertisements everywhere now, and it was always just but it was kind of nice. You know what I mean? It's like you weren't in somebody else's car. It felt nostalgic in a sense, right? But you always used to pay taxis with cash, right? Like credit cards weren't really.
Oh, and they always looked at you funny when you had. Do you judge your Uber driver based on what they listen to?
I mean, kind of yes and no, but
when you get in their car and they're just listening to some weird shit, you're like, what the hell happened here?
You can't. I actually had a real foreign guy this last time, which was actually like super foreign, like to the point where his app was talking to him in the language that he is. And I was like, oh, that's kind of crazy.
Last time I was in San Diego, we had to take an Uber, and the guy was listening to like mystical music. It was like, dun, dun, dun.
I know we had an older guy recently, and he was listening to Disney music. I was like, this does not pair.
Yeah.
Super weird. Anyways, I didn't mean to go off on the musical thing. I'm always weirded out by Uber drivers' music.
Okay, but the cash thing, right? Remember when you used to pay with cash, right? You'd have a wad of cash when you're in Vegas, and I feel like that's not really the
tipping. It's so weird that we don't tip. Well, now they've added all tips, but remember for a minute when Uber didn't allow tips, where I was like, no. Not going to tip our people.
Did they?
Yeah.
Did they do? I didn't know. Yeah. When they first started, when they came out.
Because then that's why all the drivers wanted to drive for Lyft, because Lyft allowed tips, and then Uber was like, well, I guess we do have to add tips. But if I was an Uber driver, I'd just put that in my car. If I was like all these in Vegas here, all these limo drivers, I have no idea how you would present this to somebody. You probably can't put it on the side of your limo, but.
Well, cash tips must have been going down, because, I mean, if you think about even handouts, you remember people used to say, oh, don't got no cash, just got a card, buddy. You know what I mean? Can't give you nothing. So
now it's like, I got you.
Could you imagine if like a homeless guy was sitting there on the street and he's like, hey, just right here, brother. I got a QR code.
He's like, oh, don't worry about it. I got you. You can pay with Apple Pay.
Yeah.
It's like.
So what is because I was reading, I mean, we all know a tip is supposed to be a tip. I mean, there's 100% that should go back, but I assume to have a business, you guys take some of that revenue, right? Is there a transaction fee, or how does that work?
Yeah, so the way that works for us is we process all of our transactions through Stripe. And so we obviously have a card processing fee by using Stripe. And then we right now are charging a 1% transaction fee. And that's just to cover our costs of moving that money around. But, we're really passionate about full transparency and making sure, the tipped workers are really, those are the people we're really trying to help here. And so right now, the way the system is set up is that when you leave a tip, you just pay a small surcharge on top of it to cover those transaction fees. So if you want to tip $5, the tipped worker is always getting the full $5.
Yeah, it's like $5.40 or something.
It's always going, or even kind of too, what is, all the donation platforms. I mean, they've been doing that for a while. That was always their business model, right? Like, hey, help us cover.
If you order Uber Eats now, everything has a $5 like surcharge.
I know.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And is that eventually going to be? I don't know. Is that going to get out of hand sometimes?
Right now it's out of hand.
Because we thought it was out of hand when we moved here. Remember gas?
God,
Remember
so
the gas
much.
stations?
Yeah.
We were like, what is this extra like 35 cents every time it goes
Yeah,
up?
you use your credit card.
And then you don't even know if it's going up or not. Kind of like you're like,
Right.
did you just charge me $5 extra?
Yes.
So it's like when's enough is enough.
But I'm not. Yeah. I mean, I didn't expect you guys to be doing this out of the graciousness of your heart. 1% is totally fair.
Yeah,
that's totally fair, and it's a good. It makes sense. But now I've got all these use cases for you guys. Now I think you guys should create a landing page for like panhandlers. This is a huge opportunity for panhandlers to be crushing the market.
because then you guys can be everywhere getting your 1%.
Yeah, this is a good idea.
Or 1% on every street corner.
Instead of having just cardboard, they actually have cardboard with a QR code on it.
There you go.
No. But no, yeah, it is really interesting though. And something that's quite cool is we're always talking, to different like acceptors for payment to try to see what we can do to continue to reduce those fees.
Sure.
So we actually, in the UK, because open banking is a much more accessible thing there. And so we've actually are just about to launch it to where people can pay using their open banking apps. And if they do that, that then cuts those fees down by 50%. Just because you charge so much less to do that transaction. So we're kind of constantly exploring, what are those ways we can reduce those. And then as we continue to grow, we obviously can negotiate better rates and reduce those surcharges.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Plenty of us know how the whole Stripe thing works. So that's, somebody's got to get paid.
Yeah. So I was going to have you explain this to us because when we talked kind of in our pre-show, like why would somebody decide to use you guys over like a platform like Venmo or something like that? Maybe give a little insight of that. So
Sydney's like, how dare you ask that?
No, it's a good question. It's honestly the most
common
asked question I get, and I think it's a super valid one. So I think to just start off with Venmo, you are sharing your personal Venmo account with the world. The other day I got an email saying Edward had asked for like $5 from me on Venmo, and I was like, how did you even get this? And so I think that there's just more privacy. It's a platform exclusively for tipping. You create your tipping profile, and there's just that extra kind of level of security then between you and what you're sharing out there with the world.
Really good point there.
Yeah, for the group accounts, currently there's nothing like Venmo tip splitting or something like that. And so we've made it super easy to be able to split tips. And you're just not going to find that really anywhere else we also have our solo enterprise kind of model of accounts. And with this one, we kind of have one QR that takes you to a landing page. And then on that page, there are a bunch of different individuals, and then you can choose which individual you want to tip. So this works really well, for instance, for tour guides, where we're like a speedboat kind of tour guide group here. And so they just have a sticker on all the boats. But then obviously there's one guide that's leading the tour. And so the guests just scan that one QR code, and then they're able to tip whoever their guide was on the day.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And then I think just the other thing is that our whole thing is we want to help tip workers earn more. Everything we're doing for building out this technology and furthering it is geared 100% at that. We're looking to launch kind of a review module soon, so people could click that on if they want to, so people could actually get reviews for what they're doing.
Sydney, now you're talking my language here. Now I'm getting excited.
Yeah. But imagine that being a tour guide.
Yeah.
Your tip jar account goes with you anywhere. So if you're trying to get a new job, or if you move to a different state, you're actually able to have a living, breathing resume that says, look, I get tips all the time. This is what my review rating is. And it's super authentic because it's 100% from customers that you've served.
Wow. That was a very, like me and Steve, like we've been in that review game for a long time, and we always saw the power of it too. And exactly, you said a very good point of how it's always going to go with you. right? And so you can switch now, like your jobs that comes with your reviews because they're tracked. And then I was even thinking about that too in like the nightlife restaurant, and you mentioned the Venmo type of thing. It's like, yeah, you can set it private or public, but I mean, yeah, it is a social network too, kind of, and that's where those people kind of look at it. So it's like, yeah,
I always
you can
thought
see
that was the weirdest thing about that. Like, I don't know. Do you ever go look in your Venmo of like what people pay other people?
once in a while.
Okay, so me and Susan were talking about. So this is a little short story. So I had a guy that actually he was going to be in my wedding, and he moved to New York, and he kind of disappeared. I mean, he disappeared. We were friends in high school, and then Susan said, "Guess who I just saw on Venmo?" And it was Tony, and it was like Tony paid somebody $20, and so I sent him $1. I was like, "Hey man, I found you." And he like laughed. So it was crazy. You know what I mean? Because like you can go MIA off like social media until you get found on Venmo. So
no, I'm looking. It is very, very interesting.
I think what I think that helped with was, remember when, I don't know, because I feel like didn't the banks used to start that? Like you'd go out to a restaurant and it was like, how do we split the bill evenly, right? Mm-hmm. You know, so the social platform made people accountable. Like, hey, look, Mary paid me. You know, she paid me, so now you owe me money too to split the bill. I don't know. That was me and Susan kind of talked about that, and that was my thought process.
When I also look at this, I also realize I need to up my emoji game.
But it almost just automatically makes you put an emoji. Yeah,
it made me realize like I don't tell enough people what I do with emojis.
But just another. Do you think they're? I mean, when you do put publicly, I mean, now are they saying like, hey, how many people are paying for utilities or the keyword rent? Because that's what you see.
I don't know that I've ever sent a payment public, but
it's the age. Yeah, the age.
I'm old.
So one thing just for our listeners and kind of us, just to clarify, because this pops up in a browser, right? There's no app. So people then, if it pops up, they're just putting the credit card or their debit card information, right? Do you see maybe some push? I mean, you have to do that, but isn't that also that extra step? Because it's like, oh, I have Venmo and it's already set up. So now you're asking me to put my credit card into something else so I can tip you.
I always find every time I ask somebody if they want, can I just Venmo you? They're like, I've got Cash App. I'm like, I don't have Cash App. I've got Venmo. Except Venmo or nothing.
Right. So the thing is that we are Apple Pay and Google Pay enabled.
So then it starts connecting. Yeah,
I like that.
You can just click Apple Pay or Google Pay, and that goes through. So that's actually, 90% of the tips that we see clear, all that. So it takes like less than 4 seconds to do that. And I think the other thing that is nice is that, for instance, like you're saying, you don't have to have Venmo, you don't have to have a Cash App. Like all you have to have is a credit or debit card. And so I think in that regard, it is nice because, if you're trying to accept tips, for instance, from somebody and, they don't have a Venmo account, what do you do in that situation?
Well, I always think of, because we always try to get people to adapt to technology. I mean, that's a big thing. And so you have, like your grandmas and grandpas that are on Facebook now, and they're like, well, I just got on Facebook, you know what I mean? And now you're asking me to send you, your Christmas card money on Venmo, you know what I mean? And so they get worried. I don't think that that's your ideal customer by any means, but I can see where all that comes from. You know what I mean? Where people are like, now you're asking me to put my banking information in another platform or another thing that I just did.
Maybe your grandma's still sending you that $20 bill nicely folded up in that card.
I wish. I think after you turned a certain age group, I did ask about that. I said, what age do you stop getting money for a birthday as a grandchild? Do you know? When was
I think I still get it.
You do?
I think I still do.
Do you still get birthday money?
From my grandfather, yes, I do. I think my parents still get it from him too. So
it's nice. You get a nice little $20. It buys a couple tacos.
And honestly, I think you should. I think it's
give $20 away till you're dead.
I think
because is that the standard amount is $20?
No, I used to get like a certain amount. Like I think Christmas time they upped it a lot like more, but it was always perfectly even. Like if they had 8 grandkids. Even if the grandkid was 9 months old, or
even if they didn't like them,
it was always split up evenly.
This is the funniest. So my grandpa gives us. We all get $50 at Christmas every year.
Yeah.
And then my now fiance we were together for like 8 years, and my grandpa was getting fed up with it. So he started giving him $25 for Christmas and then telling him, if you get engaged, if you get married, you can get the full 50. And so he started using this as like bait to get him to.
Do you think that's what pushed your fiance over? Is that $25?
I think so. I think it was the fact that he could start getting that $50 at Christmas and not $25.
It does.
I could see that.
I get the concept of, bringing your significant other if you're married, and they still give husband and wives money.
So if you guys get married, do you guys get 50 as a couple, or is he going to still get his own 50?
No, we'll get 50 each.
Yeah. And I think it's one of those things. If you start doing it, it should be like your Netflix account. It's going to go on forever.
It would be nice if you see that's where it'll go, is where you can just automate it and you don't even have to figure out giving.
We always talked about that birthday card thing and how smart that is, and you could probably add money in that too. Yeah,
that's where it needs to go, where you don't even have to think about people's birthdays anymore. You can just put them in your calendar and it just sends them the $20, and it's like,
hey, you hear that, guys? We all know when our birthdays are. Steve knows now. It should be automatically.
Should automatically get $20 for your birthday.
There we go.
Sydney, add that in, because that's a genius idea. We'll call it the birthday card money app.
No, because what you could do, you could take that data. You could say, hey, I saw that you tipped me, but I'll also put my birthday. So if you want to send me a reoccurring birthday gift, you can send.
Exactly.
Sorry, Sydney, we're spinning
birthday notifications for more tips.
Yeah, exactly. Sign up for my newsletters, my birthday notifications.
Sydney, we're spinning your platform out of control, but this is this is very neat. We're going to post up. AMP has its own tip jar. We're going to post it up in the comments here, and we're going to see if we get some tips.
Yeah. And even too, I was thinking about, did you guys ever have anybody ask you about like the kitchen staff or anything like that? Was that ever a common thing? Because I've seen that like on menus, like buy a beer for the kitchen staff, or
I'd put this on the bottom of the plate or on the underneath the food.
Yeah.
I would get my QR code embossed on the plate.
Yeah.
And then after they eat the food, if it was good, drop us a tip.
And then that was going to go into my next question.
You might steal that for our next marketing campaign.
That's a good idea right there, isn't it?
That's a really good idea. That's hilarious.
I'm full of them. So
yeah, there's kind of two pieces to this. One thing that's super interesting is that when COVID hit, tip jar in the UK, obviously we just didn't know what was going to happen with like it being so hospitality focused and everything shutting. Where is it going to go? But the thing that was super interesting is we actually partnered with a company called Yard Sale Pizza, which is kind of like a trendy pizza place in London. And they started putting the QRs on the pizza boxes because something that I hadn't really realized is you can't ever tip a restaurant through a third-party delivery app. You can only tip the driver.
Sure.
And so that's a really interesting one for kitchen staff. It's using tip jar by just like affixing the QR code on the delivery packaging, and it's saying like, enjoy your meal, eat it, and if you enjoyed it, leave a tip for the kitchen team.
So now you guys almost need to create your own like little shopping side so you can buy all the paraphernalia to put your QR code on, because you know what you should do is those stupid little tables that go on the pizza to keep the box from should be on the little table.
They still make those little plastic tables? I haven't seen one of those in a while.
I haven't seen them in a minute, but
bring them back.
Somebody like one of the tattoos. We made them a little tip jar tattoo for like a festival they went to, and then they had the tattoo.
So that's a good idea.
Okay, but then this was going to go to my next question, and I kind of want to know everybody's opinion on this. Okay. Is there a time where now tipping has gone too far, or has been too much for every type of service?
Yeah, Qdoba or Chipotle or every quick service food place where I see them make me.
Like one place I don't tip, and it's kind of because coming from like a small town, but then also going to like a Starbucks, coffee places. Okay.
Yeah.
I kind of think that is a little bit. I don't know.
We're gonna get rioted on.
It's a little
all the coffee.
A little bit ridiculous. I mean, I kind of understand it looking like it's like being a bartender, but also that's the other thing too. It's like, just because you're a bartender, say you're serving drinks at a something else, like, right? We've gone to events and they've had prepaid bartenders, and you go get a water or something like that.
I might actually change my stance on this now that I think about it, because when I go to the bar, I seem to like tip with, I don't know, every drink or quite a bit. But I am annoyed, like genuinely annoyed. I still tip because I'm not a piece of shit, but I hate when I go to Chipotle or go to any of those fast casual and it's like, and I feel like morally obligated to tip them. Yeah. It's like, what did you do for me? You did nothing. But I do tip at Starbucks.
So I don't. And I want to hear your side of things of that, because especially since you're in the industry, I don't want you to, people get mad at you.
We don't need you canceled, but
no, I think it's a super interesting thing. And I think it is very personal. I think that for me personally, I think tipping is kind of that service above and beyond. So if I'm going to like my favorite coffee shop where I know the barista is going to make a coffee that I really like, then heck yeah, I'll leave a tip, because I feel like most people can't make a very good coffee. So that's something worth tipping. Well, or like the bartender that is working super hard and like, making, like doing rounds. Like, I think that there's definitely that. I didn't realize that people were tipping at like Chipotle's and stuff right now. I think I would personally really struggle with that. But what I struggle with the most actually, and this was like, I think a total COVID thing, was how everywhere you would go, you would like, you like paid for your food and then they would like put it in boxes and you could like sit outside and eat it. But like you had to tip before you got anything. Yes. So it's like, there was like, sometimes I'd leave like a good tip and then my food took forever and it wasn't very good. And it was like, well, or vice versa, where I just left a normal tip and then the service was so fast and the food was so good. It's like, well, I can go back up now and tip more. Like the whole tip is supposed to be after the service.
Well, that's exactly, so that's my stance. Okay. Because I believe that tipping means it doesn't mean to ensure proper service. Yeah. Right. It's not and I understand restaurants, it's kind of like there became that standard, right? 20% to your server, because it's like they're the one that's serving you, taking care of you. Yeah. But like, I don't believe in tipping, or I'm a pretty low tipper when it comes to things like takeout, right?
Fast casual
takeout, even to go orders or something like that. Sometimes like I'll go to my normal Thai spot on Tuesday and I won't tip. I'll even put 0. But sometimes, you know what I mean, I'll put $5 or something like that, or round it up to make it an even number.
It just feels like a trap. Like it feels like when they. I think she's there. I think we just lost her video.
I'm there.
Oh, okay.
When you go to like Blaze Pizza, I like Blaze Pizza, but it annoys me when they like it pops up. Yeah. Oh, do you want to leave a? No.
Or how odd?
I'm already paying.
Well, how weird is the spinner that because we talk about like with Toast POSs and stuff like that, where it's like I just need you to answer a brief question first.
Yeah.
And you're always like, come on, man. I mean, I get it, but I'm not afraid to say no, because I also think it's kind of like the birthday card thing. Like, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to keep doing it. But if I'm not doing it, I'm not doing it.
It's like, have you made my food already or not? Are there odds of you spitting in my food?
And then drinks, okay? Going to a bar, I think tipping your bartender, that's somebody maybe you go to a lot, or you get, hey, can I get 10 shots? And they see you, they make contact with you or something, right? And there's something about that, like, hey, here's 60, keep the change.
I feel like I'm a much better tipper, especially at a bar, when I'm paying in cash than I am on credit.
Correct.
Yeah.
Like if I start 100%. a tab, I'm tipping 20%.
20% of what your total is.
If I'm paying in cash, I mean, especially, Vegas is a challenging one. So like where we came from, or even in San Diego, I think drinks are still quasi affordable, you know, like where you're paying $5-6 a drink. So it doesn't feel as bad to leave $1, with a drink. But in Vegas, when drinks are like $14, $13, I feel like I'm tipping, I feel like it's a ton.
Yeah.
And
it's like, but even if it is a $14 drink, is it weird to just put $1, or are you being judged because you put $1 instead of $3?
2 or 3.
Yeah.
It's tough.
And
that is such a hard one.
Yeah, I think I'm going with my birthday card thing quoted on me.
Everybody gets a tip.
No, if you start doing it like you're tipping, you always kind of got to tip them. But if you don't really tip your it's even hard for me to give a large tip on like a DoorDash or like that type of stuff. I think I think sometimes I'm like a 15%er. You know what I mean? Just because it's the fees you put in there.
All I'm asking you to do is drive to my house. It's not like I get it. You're driving, you're paying for gas, but
It's different if it was like, hey, I called somebody and I said, hey, I need you to pick up balloons for my wife's birthday or something like that. And then you tip them because they came at a fast time, or hey, I also brought a box of chocolate. You know what I mean? Then you tip them.
I ordered pizza the other night and I had to order it on an Uber Eats or whatever.
Yeah.
And, on top of the $5 service charge to the restaurant for the Uber Eats, it took an hour and 20 minutes and it came cold and I had already tipped because it was like, son of a bitch. I just got suckered in.
Yeah. I like to tip delivery drivers because they are doing that service, but it's like I would rather tip them after they've done the service again, because if they've come quickly and, it's like the food's hot and it's all good, then I would love to tip them, But
is that a challenge? Is that a challenge when you live on a sailboat?
They come to the marina. We have to meet them up at the front of the marina.
So then are you keeping cash for that then? You know what I mean? Because you're not tipping in the platform. You're giving them cash, or...
I try to give them a tip jar card too.
Yeah, there you go.
So, okay, but let's talk about this. Let's keep the conversation kind of in the same vertical here before we get too off track. Let's keep it in like the tourism side and the travel side, because I think tips are a very good thing for tour guides to get after an experience, right? Or after somebody did something for you in a service side. Like say you rented a boat, right? Rented a boat, and then the person, maybe there was a captain that went with you, a dockhand, something like that. I think that is an ideal thing for tipping, which makes more sense. And it should also, there shouldn't even really be a percentage to it. It's more of a...
Sydney, in the platform, do you have the ability to change the preset denominations?
Yeah.
So it's not just like $5 or $3. It can be $20, $50, whatever it would be based on like their average ticket.
Yep, exactly. So that's been kind of cool too, is we've had a couple accounts where we've increased those kind of pre-populated numbers. Yep. And then their tips have increased as well.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But I also see why, those pre-populated. I went to a coffee shop, for example, and I had to scroll to the next page to even get to the 15% or the 20% because they had 35, 30, 25, and 20. And I was like,
but I could see where guys would under tip, especially in a tour setting. If you're going out on a 2-hour tour, guided tour, and they give you a $5 tip.
But is that also, that's also like a training thing, because I think tip means you're getting a tip because you're providing that to someone. It's not expected, right? So if I'm a tour guide, I would say...
You tell every bar worker on the planet that.
Well, I would try to like make it known, like, hey, part of the things that I do for you, you know what I mean? And my job is to provide good service to you guys. If you feel obligated to give me a tip, feel free.
Of $30 or more, I would accept that.
I think it's your personality thing, and you should be, if that's your job.
Yeah.
I think it's a really valid point, though, because, for instance, I've been talking to a couple captains of fishing boats, because there's quite a few here in San Diego that go out for like a half day or a day or more. And with those, it's really interesting because, I would have zero clue what a normal tip would be, for a half day fishing charter. And so it is nice because we do have that customizability where we can change those preset options. So at least when people land on the page, you can give them an idea of, these are the typical tips that we receive. And there's the option to put like a little blurb there as well, in your description as well. Yeah. So yeah, I think it is super valid because, like I've learned a lot, like bellhops, for instance. I think the standard is a $1 per bag, I think. And so there's just like random rules for different types of tips.
Or valet, valet is always an interesting one. Like, but I also think valet is, that goes back to that Vegas experience. But I mean, if it takes forever and also they don't have a system in play, how are you supposed to tip them? Because like even when COVID was going on, when I got Green Valley Ranch, like
I was tipping cash on valet at night.
Because it's a kind of that Vegas nostalgic thing, but there's a lot of people that don't. Bellhops, I think, is a really good example. I think people that tip in hotel industries are usually veteran hotel goers sometimes too, more than that basic. I don't think I go to hotels enough for that type or those type of hotels, right? Where they take your bags and stuff like a bellhop person.
I always leave a 20 for the cleaner.
Yeah, and that's a good. I think that's a good use case. I think I saw something from, or we talked about that.
That's a good idea.
The maid one. I think the maid is a really good one with kids. You know what I mean? I think you do that too more. You know what I mean? Like after a restaurant or something like that, you maybe put an extra tip for like.
I see where you guys. I mean, and I know it's you guys are based around the restaurant. I think the hotel one is such an understated play where for those maids, like, let's be real. Like, what does a maid make? Even at some of these hotels, like, I tip a 20. But, if you're going and staying for 3-4 days and you tip a 20, that's squadoosh, right? Yeah. That's nothing. I think this is a great play. I think that's an interesting segment that there's a huge opportunity for additional tipping. If you can find a non-tacky place to put the QR code and it'd be like, hey, leave us a tip. And it would,
Well, I think that's why they do. I mean, you have you been to Mexico? Do you go to Mexico or you?
I haven't been for quite some time, but I've been in the past.
Okay, so like Mexico, like you do tip your maids because they do kind of the towel things, the towel origamis or something. So I think that's the attention getter to be like, hey, I'm cleaning your room every day, and then they do, and so you do that type of stuff. So I think that's a good example of like why you would tip your maid.
During COVID, they don't even come clean your room until you leave. They're like, oh, you're going to be here 14 days? Perfect. We'll hit you up when you're done.
We had to put a little paper in South Dakota because, like, it was South Dakota, too. They're still doing more COVID regulations at that hotel where they're like, oh, yeah, no housekeeping. If you need a towel, you have to put this, and they come at, like, 6 a.m. in the morning.
If you need a towel, I need a towel every day. I'm going to need this towel.
That is funny.
It's like, no, during COVID, we can't give you too many towels.
So one last question that I have before we kind of let you go. You mentioned it a little bit in the pre-recording, but the BrewDog thing, I heard they were coming to Vegas, right? Is that true still?
They are coming to Vegas.
Yeah. Where is that location? Because we talked about it.
It is.
She should. Waiting for Steve to guess or what?
I know the answer.
I don't actually. I mean, because I haven't been with BrewDog for over a year now. So,
okay.
But I do know that they're definitely opening in Vegas. It's a rooftop location.
Well, that's the thing. We saw the.
Which one is it? Is it Bally's or is it Planet Hollywood?
They never announced it. That's why That's why I was kind of asking because it's like this hidden secret now of like, hey, they announced they're coming, and we were like, well, where's that gonna actually go?
That's a good question. I thought I
don't actually know. I know that it's not like super imminent, so I don't think it'll be in the next few months.
It just was in the news. It was
but sometimes we actually have noticed that living in Vegas, stuff gets announced and then it never goes through. Yeah,
it's like not real.
So that was kind of one of the things that did get announced like that, and I'm not saying that it's going to fall apart, but I was like, how come you don't hear anything more about it, or you only see the press articles that they probably paid for.
It already has a Google My Business, 3767. Where the hell is it?
Oh, there you go.
Well, that was good.
Where's
that? It's MGM. No. Yes. It's MGM. It's up on top of like, it's right next to that new Target.
That new Target right next to the MGM.
Well, it is. The Target on the Strip. Right?
Only in Vegas. Would be a new Target.
Well, M&M World and Coca-Cola World. That's a good landscape for that right there.
It's Target, guys. Target.
Yeah.
No, M&M World.
Yeah.
Coca-Cola. Sorry.
So that's on that. That's not necessarily the MGM, but it's right on that outside of almost.
In that mall.
It's that old school type of stuff that's been there for a while.
Smith and Walensky's was there. How do you say that fast? Walensky's.
Yeah, that's exactly.
So we're coming. So what's so before we let you go, we're coming to San Diego. Where's the best place to have breakfast?
Ooh. Oh, you guys are mean. I've not been here
Sydney, come on. You've been there a year, Sydney. Gotta have something. I've got a place for you to try out too that I'm amazed with, and I'm trying to tell everybody about it, but you go first. I'll pull mine up.
No, you go first. I have to think. I haven't been to that many places yet, so you'd think it'd be really fast.
Oh my gosh. Now you're gonna put me on the spot here. Hold on. I'm pulling it up. I've got to pull up my Slack.
This is a breakfast place?
Yep.
We're pulling that one? Okay. Yep. Then my question for you, so we like to talk about food, but we also like to talk about drinks. Like, what's your to-go or go-to drink when you're not sailing?
Going sailing.
No, when you're not going sailing, because I know sailing's got kind of their own drinks, right?
Yeah.
When I'm not going sailing, my go-to drink. Well, I mean, I did work at BrewDog for 5 years, so I do love craft beer.
Okay.
And that is always a good go-to. But I've actually recently been really enjoying Manhattans.
Okay.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there, God, I'm trying to find it here quickly. There is a pancake place in, what channel is this in Slack?
I'll tell you where it's
Goddamn Slack. So many channels. So there is, do you like Korean barbecue? Like the go cook your own type of food thing? So there is a pancake restaurant, breakfast place that has the same type of concept where you have the grill in front of you and you go make your own pancakes. And I think it's the neatest shit ever.
That's a really fun idea.
What the hell is this called? I am annoyed that I cannot find this. I have to search.
I'm going to definitely save this one.
I got to search this pancake in. Who knew that this is search?
What channel
Slack.
did you put it in?
I think it got deleted. I think you guys shut me down on this. I think you
Right here, I found it.
What is it?
Should go here because it's on TikTok because you sent it in a link, so I got to pull it up here.
Oh.
We'll even share it on the screen, then she can see it.
Jack?
Flap your jacks.
Yes. God, I'm so mad I couldn't find that, but this place looks awesome.
Here it is right there.
That looks super fun. Yes, I'll have to go there, and well, maybe we can all go there once you guys come out to San Diego.
We can here. So let me see here.
I love pancakes.
My favorite place I remembered is Cafe 21. It's in the Gaslamp District.
Oh,
Gotcha. Okay. I see what you're talking about now with the Korean barbecue. That's where you're going with that. Because at first I was like, "What is he talking? What are you talking about?" But then,
oh, this is cool too with the squeezy bottles. You could make them into the shape
like pancake art, and they have like red velvet and different flavors, pumpkin.
Wow, this looks fun.
Whoever built this is a genius.
It's a good idea. It's a good idea.
Yeah, I'd give this guy a high five. This is a great idea.
And this is also something too where I think you can. We always talk about those franchises where it's like, why would you franchise it and just open your own? You know what I mean? Like,
that's a good idea.
I think that's a good idea. Good concept there.
I don't know if they need tipping, but damn, it's a cool idea, and I'm all about eating their
Maybe they could have pancake artists there that could walk
That's
around
true.
and get
like
professional pancake artists.
Tipping your hibachi chef, right? Hibachi chefs, that'd be a good one for a guy.
Yeah, that would be a really good one.
Yeah.
Isn't that a weird thing? You're supposed to tip them. It already costs you a fortune to go to what is it? What's the big one?
Cope or
Who hot?
no, not Hoo-Ha.
Do you know about? Do they have a Hoo Hot in San Diego?
I don't know. They have one in Fort Collins though.
I love it.
Colorado.
So they had Hoo Hot in North Dakota. They don't have any here in Vegas. I think Hoo Hot is amazing.
Yeah, it's really good. We used to go there quite often.
But do you tip your cook?
I mean, I wouldn't even know how. They're like behind all the grill. And
They had that like little dollar thing where you throw the dollar and then the monkey hand thing goes. You know everybody knows what the monkey hand is.
I think some guys are good because they're good at asking for a tip, and I think if you're good at doing that, you should be tipped, not the person that's resting bitch face and then sitting there.
Resting bitch face never gets a tip.
Yeah. Well, Sydney,
Sydney,
it was awesome to have you on. We're super glad. We'll share the article about the visa, you know what I mean, and what you guys are doing with that. We'll put the link to the website. We'll show kind of everybody what it is. Also, we're going to push this out to more tour operators. And if you guys want to learn more, you can hit us up, and we'll put you in contact with Sydney, and we'll go from there. So thanks for coming on the show. We'll see you next time. I think that's it. We kind of went longer than we probably should have, but I mean,
we talked a lot about tipping and pancakes.
We got into it. So it was a good show. Thank you for coming on. And anything else you kind of want to say about Tip Jar or anything you want to plug before we let you go?
Well, yeah, no, thanks everyone, or thanks both of you for having me on. It's been super fun. It's been great talking to you. And yeah, no, we're just super excited. Right now we're doing a promotional campaign with Visa as well. So we're offering a $50 Visa gift card for right now. It's just geared at California residents who sign up to Tip Jar in the next 2 weeks. So
Gotcha.
There's they have to take tips in order to kind of unlock it. But yeah, if there's anybody who wants to join in, we would love to have you with Tip Jar.
We're happy to send some more people your way.
Awesome. Well, thanks, guys, for listening to the AMP podcast. Jade and Steve, we'll see y'all next time.